Hey, thanks for reaching out. So I had to do a lot of bit of background searching because I found that prosecutorial discretion maybe was something that was talked about a lot, maybe like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, especially, and maybe there's reforms going on. I'll help you work around that. Another thing that I discovered is that there's a lot of legal, kind of, let's say, opinions, but it goes for like, they fall under scholarship for um, criminology and judicial scholarship and things like that. So it would be somebody who went and experienced it as a prosecutor or as a judge or as a policymaker, and then they talked through their experiences and their opinion. That neither of those kind of have like the new data that we're looking for. So I have a special strategy for you. First of all, um, just in general, you would go to the library catalog and put in quotes prosecutorial discretion. And what you would get is those two keywords stuck together, and you can find articles from all over the place going back a long time, and books and book chapters. So if you want to just cruise through things like this, you can add keywords like disparities, but I think we're going to find a lot of those in there, so you don't have to use that as a keyword. But if you wanted to, that's a good way to go. But again, there's a lot of stuff in there that might not have the data that you need for like an infographic, which is what our main goal that we're looking for. Second place that I would go is under databases. You can go to social sciences databases if you know any, or you can just go to criminology right there. And there's two that I like. And you could just do the same search. And you'll see it's already loaded my search, but I'm going to go to advanced search anyway. And then it's interesting, they tie plea bargaining with prosecutorial discretion. That could also be like diversion, pretrial diversion. So instead of going through the full court, you're like going to like a drug intervention or something like that. Are there synonyms that you might be interested in like that? That might open up our search a lot farther. But on this one, you can go to peer reviewed, and you can 1,000. And you could go by most recent first, and you can go through and look for things that you're interested in. But again, on this one, I found that there's a lot of opinions that are, they've got a great lit review, and they're highly valid, credentialed people that are giving the opinions. But for what it's worth, that was a dud for me too. I mean, I found a few, but I suffered. I don't want to suffer anymore. So let's go to databases, and let me show you Scopus. Scopus or Web of Science do the same thing, and they have a lot of overlap. What they do, let me find it for you right here. Scopus. Scopus and Web of Science are databases that have all the disciplines in them, but it's only the top tier journal, meaning the journals that have the highest respect, or the ones that are the most aspirational to publish in. They're like the best of the best. So we'll get less of these court opinions and more evidence-based scholarship. And here you can see that I've done the same search again. But on this time, I'm going to say I want it to be in the abstract. Let me show you how to cruise through abstracts. 268. So what we can do is this by default is ordered by stuff that's brand new. The role of case management in misdemeanor prosecution. If you see one that's interesting, how you read an abstract is you go through and they'll talk about the problem, and then they'll talk about the outcomes of their question that they asked. So here's a claim right here. Defendants fare better who secure fewer convictions. So that's people, arguably, who take the high road in discretion instead of overcharging. That one's, there's a lot to grind through in that one. But what I would do more than that is I would sort by the articles that have been cited the most. These are what are called the seminal articles, the ones that have like the highest impact in their field. So we do that by number of times cited. And then you see a lot, this is where my claim things are like 10, 15 years old. The highest cited articles are really old. They've been cited a lot, but they're old. And we want stuff that's newer. So I'm going to come up in the date to the pandemic, roughly. And then so there's 87. There, you can see right here if it's an article or if it's a review. Ignore the reviews. But what you'll look for is the title that looks like it's a pretty good deprosecution. The title that like grabs you and you're like, oh, I'm going to save that one. So deprosecution is another one where they ignore the slam dunk discretion. Let's see what we talk about here. Research summary. So here's the policy and maybe the problem. Here's the data that they gather, including a 70% reduction in sentencing. And then they'll typically talk about their findings. So they say deprosecution, which falls under the discretion, appears to have a causal association. So it's kind of a weak association. Let's take a look. So for full text, you got to look for the Find It button or the full text button or anything like that. And it'll send you back to the catalog. Just click on one of these and then I'm going to go to the PDF because the formatting is deliberate more than just the HTML text. And then what you can do, again, we can read the abstract as we had it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go down and look for, so you could read their introduction, obviously, you could read their background, but then they're starting to present data. A lot of the articles don't have that. And here they talk about how they gathered their data, but I'm hoping they present it in like tables. This was what I ran into. Categories, okay, that's a table. Hey, so this is the data that you can use for your infographic, is look for tables like this and look for tables like this. And you can tell how many things I've looked at that didn't have this because I was like, yay, data. So this one's got more than any other one. That's great. So give me a holler and let me know how it goes. But this is how I would approach it. Look for the ones that have data. If it doesn't have tables and it doesn't have graphics or anything like that, I would say skip it and try and find another one. But let me know how it goes. You have picked a tough topic, but we'll get there.